The following is a brief introduction on how to properly use Pacer's web-based application, Surge. With the Surge application, you can either choose an existing report to modify or create a new report from the Pacer dashboard. Here, we will go ahead and create a new report. Type the profile name, select a scenario, and then select a planning level in a hospital to associate with your profile. You will need to complete all these fields on the left-hand sidebar in both tabs before you can get started with a graph. To assist in collecting the data for the left sidebar, we have provided a printable PDF file that includes a brief description of each field. You can also use the question mark icons on the web form to get more information about each set of fields. Once you've completed the Space tab, go to the Flow tab. Then select the day of the week and the time of day that the event occurs. Then, in the Daily Admissions section, type in the average number of daily admissions that come from each of the sources that appear in this table. In hospital and service planning levels, we assume that 15% of emergency and elective inpatients are admitted first to an ICU. For external transfers, you will explicitly state how many go to an ICU and how many go to a non-ICU unit. In the average length of stay section, type in the average length of stay for admits from each source that is displayed in this table. The critical ICU length of stay is an important field. This field determines how long patients who are admitted to the ICU actually stay in the ICU only once they are admitted. ICU patient total length of stay signifies how long patients who are admitted to the ICU stay in all the units of the hospital during their stay. Therefore, the number for ICU patient total length of stay should be at least as much as the critical ICU length of stay. This is because ICU patients will presumably go to other units after their ICU stay is over. Once you have filled in all of the required fields, the chart will appear. Now you are ready to make a chart that displays the census for each of the 7 days that the disaster covers. You will see a banner telling you how many disaster patients you can admit on day 1 without causing capacity to be exceeded during 7 days. You will also see a graph displaying the census at the end of each of the 7 days. The blue bar represents the census of normal patients who will come in during this week. In other words, patients unrelated to the disaster. The red bar represents the daily census of disaster patients. In this case, there are no red bars. This means that in one of these 7 days, the non-ICU units are full. Non-ICUs are signified by an N annotation above the graph. So we can see here that on the day of the week we select, the non-ICU unit was full. That means you would not be able to accept any disaster patients at all during this week without making your non-ICU units full. Let's see if we can expand our capacity. We will go from staff beds to unstaffed beds. This will bring your unstaffed beds into play and will specify how many days we want our unstaffed beds to be available. Let's say we want those beds to be available for 4 days. Now we will click Chart It again. Notice that when it shows A, it means both the non-ICU and the ICU units are full on that day. An I annotation means the ICU units are full. Notice that we still have full non-ICU units. Therefore, we can't add any disaster patients. Let's see if we can go up a couple steps to convertible space. We will specify that it's happening all 6 days of the scenario. Now we will click Chart It. Notice that we can now accept disaster patients. Also notice that our non-ICU unit is full on Tuesday. Another strategy we can employ here would be to institute an inpatient reverse triage strategy. We can have either an inpatient reverse triage in a non-ICU unit, ICU unit, or in all of the units. Let's try an inpatient reverse triage in the non-ICU units. This will happen on the first day of the scenario only. Notice now that the first day census has gone dramatically down. Let's try another strategy to see if we can lower the number of people to make room for disaster patients. You will find down at the bottom the number of days to cancel admissions. Right now, with all being blank, there are no admissions that have been canceled. However, if we wanted to turn away all the elective surgery admissions, we'd simply type in a number of days to do that, and then we click Chart It. Now, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we will not be accepting any elective surgical patients. Notice that we have a significantly larger number of beds free on those days, and we can accept more disaster patients. To see admissions detail, click the Admissions Detail link, and you'll see the number of people who are admitted to the ICU units, the non-ICU units, and then the number of people who step down from the ICU units to the non-ICU units every day. The first 3 rows are for non-disaster patients. The last 3 rows are for patients specifically related to the disaster. Notice that all of our disaster patients come in on Monday. This is because it is an explosion scenario where all the injuries are acute and happen on the first day. You can toggle back to the graph by clicking the graph icon. If you want to see just the non-ICU beds, we can select non-ICU beds from the treatment area filter. To print your results, click the print icon on the right. This will bring up a separate page summarizing your surge strategies and displaying the census graph and admission table. This concludes the introductory tutorial to the PACER Surge application. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via the Contact Us page on the website.